Welcome back into the locker room. Once again, I'm your host, Will Kronsberg, joined this week by Myra Salters. We're going to talk a little bit of NFL football. We're 8 weeks into the season, just under halfway in now an 18-week NFL season. In the AFC, we see the Titans have pulled ahead. They're 6-2, but with a recent injury, we'll see what happens there. In the NFC, it's the Cardinals, the Rams, and the Packers, all at 7-1. Myra, which team do you think has really excelled through the first 8 weeks of the season?
The team that I've been looking at the most has been the Chiefs. They're not necessarily have excelled the most, but they're 4-3, so I kind of want to see them pull out a little bit more as we get into the second half of the season. And I love seeing the chemistry between Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce. So that's great chemistry. So, not the most in excelling, but I want to see them pull out second half.
And the thing about the Chiefs is they're 4-3. But that's a team that went to the Super Bowl, a team that's been to 2 Super Bowls now with that current core. Patrick Mahomes has struggled last night against the Giants, even despite them pulling out a close win on a field goal. I'm looking to see the chemistry return with them. And then if you look at the AFC leading Titans, like I mentioned, they just lost Derrick Henry. It's going to be crucial for them to find that balance again between their run and their pass offense without the best running back in the NFL. They bring in an aging Adrian Peterson, and I'm really interested to see what happens that way. And on that note, Adrian Peterson signed as a free agent, but a lot of trades. The trade deadline just finished up in the NFL. Which trades were you most excited to see in the NFL?
The trades that I was most excited to see and kind of hear from more so about Deshaun Watson and what's going on with him and the Texans, mainly Marlon Mack, because he did ask to be traded, so he wants to be somewhere else. And I think those are mainly the most two that were kind of blowing up as well. We're going to see what's going on with Deshaun Watson further in the season and seeing how everything he's got going on is affecting his play.
And with the story with Watson and with Marlon Mack is the fact that they weren't moved. Deshaun Watson hasn't played all year, still has over 20 sexual assault or sexual harassment allegations against him. The Texans have continued to make him a healthy scratch while Davis Webb starts the games. I'm interested to see if they put him back on the active roster, if they wait until the offseason to trade him. And with Marlon Mack, it's a situation where he's not happy in Indianapolis, but they're kind of keeping him along. And the third player there that wasn't traded, maybe expected to be traded, or another team had interest, Zodel Beckham Jr. Currently on the Browns, his father posted on social media a lot of frustration that Baker Mayfield hadn't been throwing him the ball and that it was more to the tight ends or to his friend Jarvis Landry. So the Saints looked at Odell with some injuries at wide receiver, didn't end up getting traded. But one player that did get traded that has that Super Bowl pedigree, Von Miller of the Broncos. Last significant player left from their Super Bowl team. Broncos trade him to the Rams, basically saying that their defense doesn't need to be as strong for the stretch run, maybe positioning themselves for a higher position in the draft. Which trades that did occur excited you?
The ones that excited me the most specifically because we are at University of South Carolina, Stefan Gilmore and Melvin Ingram. Gilmore was traded to the Panthers, so he is going to be filling that spot. And then Ingram, he's on the Chiefs, and he's definitely going to be great at defensive end on that side. But it's great knowing that that's alum, they're excelling, and they're doing better, they're doing greater. But those were, Von Miller, like you said, was a significant loss for the Rams. That linebacker spot is going to be needed to be filled on that side. On their defensive end, they're going to need some more power to fill that spot.
And out of those two University of South Carolina alums, very storied careers on the campus, let's start with Stefan Gilmore, a player who had some all-pro seasons with the Bills and the Patriots, but he fell out of favor with this newer Patriots regime, the post-Brady years in New England. Now he goes to the Panthers looking for a fresh start. What would be success for him coming down from the peak of his career, going back closer to home, being a South Carolina native? What's success for him in Carolina?
I think the success for him in Carolina would definitely be more so on the leadership end. I guess inspiring, especially being in the University of South Carolina, being in Columbia. It's a lot of young athletes out here, and I feel like they would definitely gain from his experience in the NFL.
And it's a similar thing with Melvin Ingram. He's a player that had a lot of success with the Chargers, goes to Pittsburgh, doesn't really get a lot of snaps there. He's not happy. The Steelers obviously aren't happy with his production, or they would be giving him more snaps. Now he goes to Kansas City, a team that we said needed a spark. Can he provide that spark, or is he also more of a locker room leadership guy?
definitely believe he can provide the spark. I feel like if you have it in you, you can provide the spark. But I think as far as effectiveness, his leadership would be appreciated down here greatly. And the locker room leadership is needed always. Inspiration is needed always, especially like I said, in Carolina. We can always use that in a corner. So I think it would be his leadership that would be more beneficial.
And looping back around finally to another player that went to college in the state of South Carolina. We've mentioned him once already in this show, but Deshaun Watson.
Yes.
Still on the Texans, still not playing. Will he, if he goes anywhere? The Panthers have looked at him. They have an okay starting quarterback in Darnold. They got off to a hot start and quickly cooled down. The Dolphins have also looked at him. They're sitting at 1-7 with a top 5 pick from 2020 to a Tagovailoa sitting there. Does Deshaun Watson get another opportunity in the NFL, or do we have to see if the legal things, if they're still pending?
You have to kind of definitely look at our past in the NFL, looking at different athletes and, seeing their journey with these legal issues, being that they are sexual allegations. I'm sure that they have to see them through legally before anything else. The NFL takes that type of stuff serious. So I know right now they don't have anything physical. They don't have any physical evidence of anything, but I'm sure they're going to see his legal issues through. They want to make sure if he's going to play, he can play and stay. So not just, be in and out. They want to make sure he's a consistent key feature on their team. So I think they have to see those legal issues through.
So moving from the healthy scratch Deshaun Watson to a couple players that we won't see the rest of the season for some other issues, we'll say, injury-related issues in particular. In this case, starts with Jameis Winston in New Orleans. He just tore his ACL. Just this weekend, he was a player the Saints were counting on in the post-Drew Brees era, had taken the Saints to a really hot start. They've only lost 2 games so far this season. They're on a 2-game win streak right now. He goes down, and basically the third-string quarterback, Trevor Siemian, has to step up for the Saints with Taysom Hill out with a concussion. Will the Saints continue to push going forward, or is not having quarterback one, really all 3 of their quarterbacks from last year, as far as Brees, Winston, and Hill, all out for different amounts of time? Brees retired, and the other 2 out with injuries. Will they continue to push forward, or will this see them fade back to 3rd or 4th in the South?
I, of course, think that, any team will see through an injured player because they have to keep going. They don't have any choice. But this is their quarterback. So it's got to be chemistry between the quarterback, the wide receiver, whoever he's throwing it to, even the running back. There has to be chemistry there. There has to be, something that they're used to, they've been practicing and playing with. So if it throws off the balance, switching the quarterbacks, because you never know how that affects a team, switching QBs can affect teams many different ways. So I guess we can't really say. We have to see how, these players interact with each other and how good they can keep the chemistry on the field.
Sure, and the Saints need that chemistry badly. Already falling behind half a game behind the Buccaneers in the South, despite just beating them over the weekend after Winston's injury. But a team that's leading their division, actually leading the entire conference, the Titans. I alluded to it in the open. Derrick Henry goes down with a foot injury, likely season ending. They haven't given official confirmation on that. They signed Adrian Peterson, but the Titans have a big hole to fill. Can they fill that hole? In a weaker AFC South, to be blunt, I still think they can make the playoffs. Can they effectively fill the hole in the run game, or will we see them fade towards the median as well?
If Derrick Henry is their running back who runs the ball, he's the guy that he's going to get that ball across the field. He's going to it doesn't matter, no guys are going to take him down on the way down there, then that's going to affect them, especially if that's one of their plays that they use and they know that they can trust him to get that ball down there. They're going to have to switch their game up if they don't have another running back that's just as strong as him and who can play the way he does. So there's probably not going to be 2 of one person. So there is going to be some type of effect or change. Changing up the running back, there's going to have to be a different switch with the game.
And no doubt, one more injury note to hit on would be Zach Wilson with the Jets. That one not season ending. He's out for a couple weeks, and his backup, Mike White, has already thrown for the most yards in the NFL last weekend. So we'll see if he comes back. But other than that, there's lots to be excited about in the NFL for the last 10 weeks of the season. For Myra Salters, I'm Will Kronsberg. Thank you so much for joining us.